Okay, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Like,
Okay.
do you find that you are eating more sweets at this time of the year? I'm looking right at you because you just ate a
You have
cookie.
cookies here. Of course I'm
But-
going to have a cookie.
Okay, so but I am. I definitely am. And I'm not a sweet person, generally speaking. I mean, I'm a sweet person, but I
What?
prefer salty stuff to sweets. But I'm eating sweet things and I'm doing it rather passively. And I'm not sure why. Like, is it because it's there? Is that why you ate the cookie, Aaron? Just because it's there?
Well, there's a lot of cookies here.
Is it a sense of comfort, perhaps? Is it nostalgia at this time of the year?
No, I like cookies.
Okay, well, that's plain and
And
simple.
I don't typically buy really cookies much on my own. If I do, they'll sit there for a month. I just have one here, one there. So to see 300 cookies sitting here is like
There's not 300 cookies.
Trying to help.
You'd
So
like another
200.
cookie, wouldn't you?
That'd be nice.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You can have another
All
cookie.
right.
I'll share my cookies with you. All of this to say, there is something behind it. Our next guest knows what's going on. He is a neuroscientist. He wrote an op-ed in the Gazette on the psychology of indulging in holiday sweets. Milan Valyear is a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Psychology at McGill, and he's studying addiction, and he joins us now. Thank you so much for your time today, Milan.
Hi, happy to be here.
So, first of all, I'm curious what compelled you to write an op-ed on the psychology of us wanting sweets.
Well, I've been doing research in psychology for almost 10 years now, and I consider communicating scientific findings to the public being super important, especially in a Canadian context where the majority of the research is funded by taxpayers.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, good on you for sharing it.
I thought you were going to say where the majority of funding comes from the actual, manufacturers of these sweets.
And that can happen. I promise I am not funded by
Big chocolate?
Big Sugar.
Okay.
Yeah,
Big chocolate,
yeah.
big sugar. Not yet. Perhaps after this you will be. But all of this to say that you looked at laboratory rats and they can tell us something about our own psychology, why we're wanting sweets?
Absolutely. I was interested, and I'm curious to know about the cookies you have there, if they're a specific holiday-themed cookie or just a general cookie.
They are. They're
holiday
gingerbread
themed, yeah.
cookies.
Right. So I noticed that people become really interested in sugar during the holiday seasons around December. And you can do a simple analysis of Google searches for the word sugar, and it turns out that they spike every year around the holidays in December. And I wondered, why is it that one time of the year people become so interested in sugar? And I thought it might be related to all of these specific types of treats like the sugar cookie that we have only once a year. And reflecting on that analysis, I was reading in some of the basic neuroscience research in rodents, where if you give very tasty, palatable foods, Oreo cookies or sweet sugar solutions to rodents, they'll consume them. But if you give it to them only once in a while, they'll consume way, way more. And so I thought there might be some fundamental relationship between how frequently tasty sweet foods are available and whether we eat them in a healthy or unhealthy way.
And so, I suspect I know the answer to this. Are we eating them in a healthy or an unhealthy way?
What is the healthy way, by the way?
In measured amounts, I would think.
A cookie?
Not over-consuming.
Okay.
One of the things that stands out is when you give these sweet, palatable foods to rodents infrequently, once every couple of days, they engage in this binge-like behavior where they'll eat a lot of it, but they'll eat it really quickly in a short amount of time. And that's analogous to a condition in people called binge eating disorder that's characterized by consuming a large amount of calories in a short amount of time, generally sweet, highly palatable foods. So that is something we know that is unhealthy. And it's important to engage in these kind of like rituals of eating special treats during the holidays and socializing with friends and family. But if you find yourself sort of mindlessly eating large quantities in a short amount of time, that's something to be considerate of and maybe slow down.
I would simply say from the rat perspective, if I can take that perspective, when you discuss a rat eating a cookie and then binging whenever possible to have the cookie, that seems to me to be the same thing as if you have a dog and you lay out a plate of food there, they'll gobble that thing up. And they'll eat as much as they possibly can because they don't ever think they're going to get more food. And I'd imagine it'd be the same for the rat, right? Here's a cookie. Oh my God, there's
But
another one. Eat them all now.
Aren't we smarter than that
We
as
are,
humans?
right. So why are we comparing one to the other necessarily?
Well, that's a really good point, and I should clarify one thing. In all of these animal studies, including the ones I did with the rodents, they have unlimited access to regular food and water, which people also have access to plenty of healthy alternatives. So the addition of an Oreo cookie or a sugar solution once in a while is like a supplementary food. It's not the only food they have.
Okay. But it's a food they obviously like better than their other crappy food, so they're going to eat as many of those as they can, right?
Well, and around Christmas, I mean, you have those sugar cookies in front of you that you only get once a year. So in comparison to the regular food that's available, they become highly valuable, especially because they're only available infrequently. And I have the hypothesis that maybe having access to high-value foods only once in a while can make us more likely to engage in unhealthy binge-like eating.
I mean, that makes
That's
a whole lot of
interesting.
sense to me. Plus, I feel like there's a mentality during the holidays that it is a time to indulge, right? Like it's kind of, we give ourselves a pass now in ways that we wouldn't at other times of the year.
Totally. And I think it is important to, be kind to yourself and to celebrate and treat yourself, but also to be mindful of how you're eating.
You know, I'm trying to think, though, the whole sugar idea. We also know that sugar chemically, right, is addictive. It's like caffeine to some degree, is it not?
That's a really interesting point. And lots of these animal studies show that while sugar can support addiction-like behavior, it looks like it's even more powerful at eliciting that kind of behavior when it's available only once in a while.
It's fascinating.
The forbidden fruit approach.
Exactly.
Or a
So if
cookie.
you give them access to, and this is true for other drugs like alcohol and cocaine too, if you give rodents access to those substances all the time, they're less likely to develop a problematic relationship with those substances than if they have it only once in a while.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, that's not going to play really well, though, with people, though.
Well, I'll tell you,
So-
I've always maintained that as a teenager, I was allowed in limited amounts, and it gave me a much healthier attitude towards drinking and drugs than a lot of my friends who were told no drinking.
Right, by having
no.
been exposed to
Exactly.
it early on.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder then in this, I didn't want to have such a lengthy discussion here, but I wonder in that case as well, if you're introducing these substances to the rats or to whatever,
To Aaron.
and you're introducing them on a consistent and gradual basis, is the thinking that eventually they're not going to be that interested in them? Is that the conclusion here?
Well, in my work, what I do is I try to discover what changes in the brain when an animal transitions from having a healthy relationship with alcohol or palatable food to having an unhealthy relationship.
I see.
And
Okay.
whether I can restore or undo those changes to develop treatments for addiction in people.
Okay.
Absolutely
That's
fascinating. I'm glad you wrote this piece. I'm glad you're not funded by Big Sugar, and I'm glad we had this conversation today.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Can I just ask, when you
Yeah,
eat
of
cookies,
course.
when you eat cookies, do you do a whole sleeve at a time? Do you have like one or two? What do you typically do?
I would be a bit embarrassed to admit my eating habits, but from a scientific perspective, it's all very healthy, I promise.
Okay. Wow.
Very
Covering his
diplomatically
backside.
put.
Okay.
That's Milan Valyear, a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Psychology at McGill. He studies addiction.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take good care. Have a cookie.